For those new to the channel, my name is Zai. I've been playing Quake for over 18 years and reviewed over 60 mice. Ever since it was announced, I've been asked to review the Final Mouse Scream 1 almost every day, so obviously there's a lot of hype around the mouse. And yes, it's going to be a top recommendation because the shape, weight, buttons and sensor are all very good. They're the four main factors when choosing a mouse, and the cost is going to factor in too. How high should it go in my top 40 mice? Well, I'll tell you now, everyone is different. This could actually be your number one, so don't take much notice of the number. Focus more on the shape, measurements and grip styles. Let's begin with the tour of the mouse. It's an ambidextrous design, but it has side buttons on the left only. It has subtle curves for comfort, including ones for picking it up, and even some comfort grooves in the buttons. You'll note that the button slope is gradual and the hump is in the middle. It's a very safe shape and it should suit a lot of people. Here are some comparisons with the G302 and Death Adder so you know the basic size of it. It's like the Death Adder in size, just a bit thinner on the front and the back, so I'd say it's a medium-large mouse. The grip width is about 5.9cm, that's between the fingers, and the base length is about 11. And it's about 4cm high, so despite the looks, it's very similar to the Death Adder with those key dimensions as well. And I aim about the same with both mice. The measurements I give next are general guides, but I think it could work for palm grip, for hands between 17 and 19.5cm. Claw grip, 17 to 21.5, and fingertip, 18 to 21.5. Of course, the people with hands outside of those measurements could use it too. This is just a general guide to give you an idea. Amazingly, despite its size, the weight is only about 85 grams, and the distribution seems close to the middle, in line with the sensor, so it's fairly well balanced. Moving on to the buttons, here is a listen to the clicks. Left and right seem a bit louder than other mice, but being armor on switches, they're still light, just a bit more tension, which makes sense for larger hands. Middle click is fairly low, and if I hold the right mouse button in tight, I can't actually click the middle button. It seems like the right button is pressing on the wheel. Scrolling up and down, the steps feel a bit soft, maybe better for browsing, but they're not bad, and they could be a bit quieter. The side buttons feel good, aren't too loud, and don't have much travel. And the DPI button is flat and out of the way, so I haven't had any accidental clicks. In the latency testing, neither test is accurate, but it seems to compete with the G403 in speed. There's not much difference, so that's really good. But in regard to the buttons, a few known issues. The big one was not being able to use multiple buttons at once. So I've bounced strafe right and zoom to the side buttons, and shoot and forward to the left and right. As you can see, all commands work fine, so that's not a problem on the new ones. So make sure you have the latest firmware. But even this copy will fire when you tap it on the desk. I tested both buttons, and they both fire when tapping it. I then put fire on the side buttons, and they didn't fire. But Mouse 3 does as well. The next problem is that when you're scrolling down, sometimes it can randomly go up, but I've scrolled through this document a few times and I haven't seen it happen once. So only one of the three problems is still there, and the tapping problem didn't seem to affect me in game, but then maybe I don't slam the mouse while playing. If you do and you think it might cause a problem, maybe don't get this, but honestly for me, it's not an issue. I mean, it should be fixed, but it's not going to bother me personally. So the buttons are quite good and have a lot of positives, but as always, they could be improved. As for the sound it makes, when tapping it, it seems fine, but when shaking it, the scroll wheel is just a tiny bit loose. Nothing that would cause a problem in game though. For materials, the sides are slightly textured plastic with a decent grip to them, and the top feels slightly rubberized. I actually quite like the feel of this one. The cable is about 1.8 meters, braided, but it could be smoother and more flexible. This is an area I'd like to see them work on. And there are 4 medium feet on the base, which glide fairly well on soft and hard pads. Now testing the implementation of the 3360 sensor. It handles rocket jumping just fine, of course. I can't make it spin out, and it doesn't suffer from the tilt slam issue either. Although notice I fired a few times during that test, that's from the button issue. Zooming right in to check sniper aim, and it tracks pixel by pixel, and as smoothly as expected at 400 and 1600 DPI. For acceleration, I don't have an accurate test, but there doesn't seem to be any. Nothing noticeable anyway. The lift-off distance is just over 1 DVD on hard and cloth pads, which seems good for most people. The responsiveness feels good, but this is a human test, so I don't know for sure. And testing the 360, it matches the G403, so all good there too. In the line test, it seems the same as the G403, no abnormal jitter, angle snapping or skipping. Lift-off movement is decent, and there is no lens rattle. So the sensor seems great. I didn't find a problem in testing or in game. And of course no software for this one, although you can get firmware updates. In conclusion, if my hand was bigger, I'd consider using this as my main. The shape and features are very good. I like the weight in the buttons, and despite being a bit big, I felt like I could aim it quite well. Not quite G403 level, but still good. They've given it a premium price tag, so hopefully they resolve the issues on the next run. For that amount of money, it can't have an issue like the tap activation on the clicks. Everything else seems quite good though, and it's going to be a competitor with the higher tier mice. If you think it could be right for you, and as long as you don't get one with a lot of issues, then I could recommend it. But given how many problems there have been, I am a bit hesitant. They're not a huge company, and even Logitech had a build quality issue, so it happens. As I'm a consumer too, I totally understand the frustration, because when we spend that much money, we want it to be perfect. But I guess just try to be patient. Give them a chance because it could be a really good mouse. Just make sure that you can return it if you do get a bad one. Anyway, I've really enjoyed using it and I'd be happy to use it in competition because that tapping problem doesn't affect me. So for now, I'm going to put it high up in the top 40, but if I keep on hearing about issues, I may have to drop it. Big thanks to Finalmouse for sending this out for review, really appreciate it, and I look forward to the updates, and also new mice from them in the future. They're doing great work. I imagine it's extremely difficult to make a mouse, especially one without problems. If you'd like to buy one, I'll leave the usual links in the description, but of course check for availability. Hope that helps, and as always, subscribe for more reviews and gaming videos, like this one, and I'll catch you in the next.